Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be discussing Noni Madueke ahead of his potential move to Arsenal Football Club. If you haven't seen, Fabrizio Romano has reported that he has agreed a 5-year deal worth the same 50k a week he is on at Chelsea. So without further ado, let's discuss Noni Madueke. I think it's key to advise that early doors in this transfer window, when this news is broken, there is a lot of negativity towards the transfer, and it's important to caveat that before discussing what he arguably offers and the reason for that negativity. In my personal opinion, I believe the negativity surrounding Madueke is not about the player itself, it is more about what the signing could possibly cost Arsenal. A lot of Arsenal fans want Rodrigo to come in, or a big name on that left-hand side, from all accounts, to come in, offer versatility on both flanks. And I believe it is a belief that Noni Madueke for 50 million or whatever the credit fee is would mean that we wouldn't be able to then afford a Rodrigo or a superstar player this transfer window. And whilst I agree that that is probably the case and that is disappointing and that makes the signing a bit underwhelming, I think we have to look at Madueke in isolation of what he could offer Arsenal Football Club. I think that is a key thing to look at before addressing the player, because obviously as much as it is a bit disheartening to not get a Rodrigo, not get like a world-class winger, a Rafael, it's important to also caveat with what Madueke offers. Now, he's obviously predominantly right-sided, so that means he's back up more so for Bukayo Saka, with Eberechi Eze looking like he's potentially coming in on that left-hand side. He can also play on the left side, but it's more about the qualities he offers to the squad, the qualities that Arsenal maybe do not have. And from that regard, I do actually believe there are quite a few qualities that Madueke can bring to this Arsenal squad and characteristics that would really benefit Arteta's style. So, Madueke is very good at progressive carries. His touches in the box numbers, which Arsenal excel at anyway, is also brilliant. But he is also very good at successful 1v1s. If you watch him play in tight space dribbling, he is extremely quick, extremely decisive, and extremely mobile. If you look at his stats, shots-wise, he's a very good shot taker in terms of not the quality of his shot once he's got it off, but he takes a lot of shots per game, which Arsenal do lack that sort of, let's just kick the ball. And non-penalty XG-wise, he is actually fares quite strong for wingers. He got 7 goals and 3 assists in the league last season, which by all accounts is not great. But there is certainly a talent level there, a natural talent from a winger that means that he could, in the right environment, explode. He isn't defensively great, which is a worry for an Arteta system and an Arteta winger. We know how much emphasis he puts on Martinelli and Saka to defend. But there's certainly attributes that Arsenal could use that they don't have within the squad. So he is obviously got a lot of pace. That's the main thing. If you look at Arsenal's back line last season with Havertz, Jesus even to an extent, Saka, Martinelli, Trossard, Merino even when he played. None of these players are necessarily quick. None of these players are good at beating a man throughout pace on the counter other than Martinelli. And I think balance across the front line in games where we have to play in transition and break teams down quickly is key with the targets that we're going for this season. You look at Gyökeres, what's his main thing? As much as I think Sesko would suit us more, Gyökeres' main thing is big space plays, getting isolation on that left-hand side to be able to go 1v1 with a fullback and get him behind to then carry it to the box. Madueke is another player who thrives in those transition moments, who has a lot of pace, has a lot of power to be able to physically just outdo the defender. And I think that is great from that attribute. As well as this, he's a tight space dribbler. Tight spaces is where Arsenal do actually struggle in terms of dribbling sense across the front line. You've got Saka, who can probably hold off 2 players and power past them in that regard. Martinelli is not a tight space dribbler. He's very good at the long touch past them and getting into the space behind the defence. But if you're in a tight moment, unless he's against Trent Alexander-Arnold, he does not successfully operate in that atmosphere. Trossard, sure, maybe a little bit, but equally, he more comes alive when there's chaos in the box and the ball falls to someone. If it usually falls to him and he just knows where to be to put it in the corners. In terms of tight dribbling, that is not what I'd call his game. The only out-and-out tight space dribbler Arsenal have within the squad, in the front line, is Gabriel Jesus, and he's obviously out of an ACL. Eberechi Eze does solve that issue slightly, but Madueke definitely offers that different quality to the squad. He's also a vertical line runner, Madueke is. In fact, that he runs that way as opposed to that way. And that's good because Saka, we know, likes to go that way and that way sometimes. Martinelli is predominantly like diagonally vertical, as weird as that sounds. He's never really straight down the wing because he doesn't really like doing that. And Havertz is more just floats. We know from instances this season that Odegaard is unlocked when he has a vertical runner in front of him. You look at the pass against, for example, Porto 2 years ago. You look at the pass to Saka this season. The only time that Odegaard really comes alive in that creativity way is when, say, Ben White's running vertically past Saka, so he can just tap the ball into Ben White. That is a key part of Odegaard's game. Part of his creativity is to see the passes of the runs, but he struggles when he's seeing the horizontal run. He's better at just getting it, a nice little through ball around the corner. And I think that the signings this season, mainly Arteta's assessed the squad and thought, it's going to be too expensive to, say, replace Odegaard for someone who's more complete for the system. So how do we better Odegaard? Obviously, last season it felt like Odegaard had to drop a lot deeper to accommodate for the fact that Partey no longer had the legs to do any progression. It was more he had to drop a shoulder and play a pass. So Odegaard now sort of had to drop deep to get the highest passes progression numbers in the league. But that was because that was a quality that Odegaard could be trusted to do that was seen as important for the team. But it did take away from Odegaard's final third ability. And I think that naturally Arteta's trying to revamp the squad to get the best out of one of the best creative players in the world in Martin Odegaard. And Madueke certainly has the qualities to combine with Odegaard and get the best out of his creativity. I think that these signings now, whether it be Eberechi Eze on that left-hand side, whether it be Madueke, whether it be Gyökeres, I do think Sesko is more suited to Arsenal, but that's by the by. These signings are more revolved around Martin Odegaard. It seems to me that the team is being built around Martin Odegaard. And a lot of people wanted him replaced, but I just simply don't see that how that's going to happen. I think that what will happen is Odegaard will be the fulcrum of the team next season, as he was last season in a different way. And whether that be positive or negative, I don't think he had a good season last season, but whether that be on him fully is a different debate. But I think Madueke can really help others at Arsenal thrive. Not only that, Madueke likes to get to the byline and do a low-driven cross. What do we know that Gyökeres, for example, doesn't do well with? He does not do well with high balls and headers. So I think the whole point of Madueke is to get that ball into that area, that channel on the ground where Gyökeres can thrive. I think that Rodrigo, as much as I like him and think he's a better asset and a more talented player than Madueke, I think that he would have come in if Sesko came in, because he likes to do a nice cross ball but from the left-hand side, whereas Saka's remit is always to the back post crosses. So I think that Rodrigo would have balanced the front line out if Sesko was in the middle. I think with us signing Gyökeres, we've pivoted and looked for different options, which has been Eze and Madueke. I would have imagined that we wouldn't have signed Eze if we'd have signed Sesko. We would have probably gone for a different profile and got Rodrigo as well. So that is my thoughts on it. He's also coming in, 23 years old, 50k a week. The price at 50 million is the going rate for a winger. So whilst I am disappointed that it isn't the big name like Rodrigo, or even that it is another Chelsea player, granted, I don't think that matters. If you're being honest with yourself, Chelsea have a million players. They're always going to get talented young players because that's the whole remit of Todd Bowley. So signing a talented young player from them isn't necessarily as bad as signing a Willian or even a David Luiz, even though he worked out well. Older players at sort of the tail end of the career, like Petr Cech. I think there's more scope for Madueke to be good than there would be if it was, for example, if we were signing an older winger, like a 20... Is Pedro... Not Pedro. Yeah, Pedro Neto, is he not 28 now? If we went for him, I'd be more concerned. But I think that it will be a solid signing in isolation. I don't think it's someone you can judge at this stage. He's a very talented winger. He's very, very quick. He's very, very good at dribbling in tight spaces. He's good at beating players on the dribble. He's good at a lot of facets that Arsenal need. My only concern is the fact that he is predominantly a right winger. He's not a left-sided player. And with Trossard leaving, we probably need a left-sided player. But then you look at it, he has played on the left. And also, if Trossard leaves and Eberechi Eze comes in, and whatever, he's going to get more first-team minutes. maybe that's the minutes filled there. Another big concern of mine with that makeup of the attack is Eze does have an injury record. And also I just feel we're a little bit light on the out-and-out winger. I'd like to see more Rodrigo on that left-hand side. As I've said, if Rodrigo happens though, it'll be later in the window, and Madueke could just be smoke screen for that, but I somehow doubt it. I think there's more sense in the combination of Madueke-Gyökeres than there would be Rodrigo-Gyökeres. I think that if it was Sesko-Rodrigo, that makes the most sense, but obviously we're not going for that because of the money involved in the deal. So let me know. I think there are positives. Definitely positives in Madueke. He's a player that personally I've really enjoyed watching over the last 2 years. I actually really do like him as a footballer. The downheartedness that I think I'm feeling, that other Arsenal fans may be feeling at this time, is more a case of the fact that he just is not a star, and he's also from Chelsea. But I think that if we did sign him, I think it would come good. I think it would be a decent signing. Obviously, it might not like the world or but at the end of the day, we only really need the winger to get sort of similar output to like Trossard or Martinelli. We have got Bukayo Saka. Remember that. Bukayo Saka is a star. He'll play the majority of games on that right-hand side. It might be interesting to see if Saka eventually comes in at 10 or at striker. I know last season there were times where Saka started playing more centrally, but it depends what Arteta wants to do. Let me know in the comments below. Do you agree with my thoughts on Madueke? I do think it's an overreaction online, but it's just something to discuss. Just something to discuss. Anyway, thank you for watching. As always, if you did enjoy today's video, please be sure to like and subscribe. We are nearing 170 subscribers. We're on 164. The growth on the channel recently has been phenomenal. And yeah, it really does help the channel out for you watching. Just like the video if you've enjoyed. Subscribe, really appreciated. Thank you very much. Goodbye.